40 years of developing hockey players from youth to the pros, Minnesota Hockey Camps has a player development program for you. Located in Breezy Point, Minnesota, our professionally coached on-ice development sessions, off-ice speed training, weight room sessions, stick handling sessions, shooting skill sessions are the right program for you. MHC takes great pride in its tradition with developing NHL players like Chris Stewart, Ryan Bugsy Malone, Scotty Hartnell, and TJ Oshie. Our dedicated staff is ready for you. Come check us out at MinnesotaHockeyCamps.com. Sign up for your chance to become the player you've always wanted to be. Hashtag who will be next.
Cold showers, leaking pipes, furnace giving you the chills? Look no further. At Iron Range Plumbing and Heating, we've got you covered. From expert plumbing solutions to HVAC magic and all sheet metal work, we are your one-stop shop for comfort and reliability. Professional service from a team that cares. Say goodbye to household woes and hello to peace of mind. Call Iron Range Plumbing and Heating today and feel the difference.
Goat Sports. At Grand Rapids Chevrolet GMC in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, we have the trucks. Over 47 new Silverados and Sierras sitting currently on the lot with more to come. We have all the options: LT, RST, LTZ, High Countries, ZR2s. We have heavy duties. We have Sierra, SLT, Elevations, Denali's. We are equipped for the truck you are looking for. With great rebates currently, with up to $12,500 off on select models, now would be a great time to take advantage of savings and get yourself into a new truck today. Grand Rapids GM in Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tea with Miss McGill Show, presented by our friends up at Fortune Bay Resort and Casino. Fortune Bay Resort and Casino is northern Minnesota's #1 casino, so plan on visiting Fortune Bay Resort and Casino today up on beautiful Lake Vermilion. They have 172 rooms and a smoke-free resort, indoor pool, full-service marina. Of course, we're into the boating season now. Weather's been pretty nice. Not going to be the next couple of days, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of nice weather this summer. RV park, world-class golf, course is open, several dining options, a bar, and of course, all the gaming you can handle. Visit fortunebay.com for more details and plan your trip right now up to Fortune Bay. I heard they caught a bunch of walleyes up there too.
Well, I'm sure they did. And if you're going up there fishing, it'll be a great time. If you're going up there golfing, it'll be humbling and bring a lot of golf balls.
Yeah, 100%. All right. It is Buka speaking. Star of the show, Coach Reed Larson, episode 110. We did have some subscribers since the last show: Connor Pedersen, Sandy Lepinin, TJ Andles 1, and Brandon Brula. So be just like these fine folks. And subscribe to America's fastest growing hockey podcast. All right, of course, we're into the interview portion of our show. And we got a very special guest here from the Beyond the Pond show with K-Fan, and I guess you could probably see you're the best looking man in show business now that your brother retired. We have the honor of Pat Micheletti joining us, and welcome, Pat. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to be with you guys, and we ran into each other at the state tournament, put this thing together, and finally we get to do it.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We'll dig into everything with you. So, yeah, so why don't we just start out? I'm your Hibbing guy, Hibbing legend. Yep. You know, we always start with just, how'd you get started? Of course, you've got all kinds of athletes from your family, but so I'm sure they had a big influence, but, how'd you get going?
Well, being the ninth of nine and growing up in a small 3-bedroom house with 9 of us running around, and I was really lucky to have the brothers and sisters that I had that really got me going in the game. I had all of my brothers except for one, and there were 7 boys, 7 of us, and 2 girls. Only one did not play hockey. Jim, he played basketball and football. Played football at North Dakota. But the rest of them played, and I started skating when I was 3 years old. My brother Tom, my oldest brother, brought me home my first pair of skates when he came back from college, and just started it and kept playing and kept competing, and it was a lot of fun growing up.
Yeah. So 9 kids. I didn't realize it. So that
Yeah.
there is a
Well, you know, my mother said, I got to tell you this, guys. And, my mother told me, she said, you know what? It took 9 times to finally get it right. And I said, yes, mother, that is correct. So,
Well, that's fantastic.
Coach
yeah.
Russ was saying in our little pre-chat that there's a chance you guys might be related or know your grandpa.
Well, you may know, but you're the youngest of 9. But no, when you talk about having 9,
Yeah.
8 other siblings, you're 9 of 9, so you're the youngest. You could probably go back to the front of the line there. They may know a little bit more. My grandpa was Mundo de Juanes, and Mundo used to do a lot of radio play-by-play. Did a lot of the
Yeah.
basketball tournaments and called games for Evlith, and he did a lot of sports writing. So,
Yeah.
you know, whenever you're in the world, and of course you look at my name and it's Reed Larson, you're looking at
Yeah.
Larson's side. There's the Dewanis side on that as well, too, that I grew up with an Italian culture that you and I have a lot in common in that area.
Oh yeah, well, you know the Matchus family, and you know Johnny is my cousin who used to coach at Air Force, and you know he played with John Mayasich and Willard Eichela at Evelyn High School, and you know I mean we could throw names out there till we're blue in the face.
Oh,
It's
for
just
sure.
you know just a fantastic, you know the whole Iron Range. What the number of you just go back and you think of the number of great athletes from you know International Falls to Rapids to you know everywhere right on the range and you know that's what made you proud to be from the Iron Range.
Oh, for sure.
Well, when you talk about the 9 kids, and I remember, I don't know if this is lore or what, but somebody had told me, and this was within the last 10 years, dozen years,
Yeah.
but there was like a Micheletti that lettered in a sport for almost like 20 years in a row at Hibbing High School. Does that sound about right?
Well, for sure, because I mean, my mom worked fast, right? And you know, the kids were like, you know, a year and a half, 2 years apart, and yeah, it was. When I was born, my oldest brother was 17, so he would have been in his senior year. But yeah, it was Tom and Jim and Andy and Jerry and Joe and Don, and then the 2 sisters, and then me. So yeah, it was ongoing, and in fact, at the university, there was a year gap, but from 73 to 85, and there's a 1 year gap where there wasn't a Micheletti. There's a Micheletti playing at the University of Minnesota too. Joe, Don, and then myself, obviously.
Awesome.
That
Wow,
is
that's
very cool.
And so who had the national title in 73?
Joe did in 73, 74,
Yeah, or
and then Joe again in 75, 76, and then Don in 78, 79 in Detroit, that beautiful goal that Neil Broughton scored from his belly, you know, over North Dakota at the that was in Detroit at not Joe Louis, it was the one previous to that. That's where the national championship was that year. So yeah, a lot of, you know, listen, I have, and I tell people this to this day, I have more memories of watching my brothers at the university than I can remember about my career at Minnesota. I mean, it was just, you know, I was in awe of those guys. I wanted to be like those guys. And you know, and to this day, a lot of those guys, those, you know, they're alumni now, obviously, you know, are really good friends of mine. And, you know, because they're down here in the cities, and so I get to see them quite a bit, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, kind of paint the picture of Iron, you know, if you think back to like Pee Wee's, Bantams, even high school, just paint the picture for the audience of kind of what Iron Range hockey was like then, you know, of course, mostly outdoor.
No, well, yeah, I mean, we loved it, right? I mean, who didn't as a kid growing up? You know, we lived on the outdoor rink, and you know that was the great thing about playing at the outdoor rink. You know, I used to go to Cobb Cook Elementary. I went to Cobb Cook Elementary, and you know that was 3 blocks from my house, and there were so many outdoor rinks, but that's where I went, and didn't matter. if girls were out there, if you were 10 years old, if you were 25 years old, it didn't matter. Whoever was there, you split up the teams and you just play. And that's where you really learn a lot. You're able to try and do anything that you wanted, and that's how you got better. And so that was a lot of fun. In fact, I used to put on my skates at home, and this in the winters in Hibbing, it's like ice, the side streets. And so I used to just skate up on the middle of the street, up to the rink, onto the ice, go warm up in the warming shack. I'd go home, and my mom would be waiting for me, and my feet were so cold, she used to take her hands, grab my feet, and rub them in her hair, just to get them warm. I mean, that's what we did. We didn't know any better. We didn't know what cold and warm, it was just, that's what we did.
Right.
And so it was a lot of fun, and I miss it.
Yeah, well,
It's when the game was innocent, right?
yeah. Well, we visited with Willie Speltz. He says he's kind of connected with your ex,
Virginia, right?
Yeah. And he was our last interview, and he talked. He said, when I started, because Reed and I graduated in the '90s, we always had face masks. And he said, virtually everything was outside. I didn't have a face mask, and he's painting this picture, and it's like, wow, yeah. And he said they had his youth uniforms. He figures they were from the '50s because they just kept reusing them.
Right.
But one thing he told us, he said, so he would have been a junior higher when you were coming through high school, and he said, the most feared line in the state, Hooper, Micheletti. And of course, as a matter of fact, I ran into Hoops yesterday at a track meeting.
Yeah.
But how fun was it playing with those guys? And maybe talk a little bit. Obviously, you were at the state tournament. Maybe.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was great, and we spent a lot of time on the ice together. And we were line mates since we were, gosh, I want to say squirts, all the way up, all the way through, line mates the whole time, and we used to skate together, just the three of us. There was a gentleman in town that lived right across the alley from the Hoopers, where they lived, and he used to make this rink for them and for me, for us, and for anyone who showed up in his yard. He had a big yard. Dutch Weber was his name, and you know the Weber family probably. And he put the lights out, and he'd have it, they have the rink, resurfaced, if you will, watered. And we spent so much time together. Sometimes it'd just be the three of us, and we'd be out there for hours. And it was they were such great line mates, and they were twins, right? And so they knew everything that the other one was going to do. So I kind of just played off that a little bit. I was their centerman, and Greg was probably the more skilled one, could really skate. But Gary, I think our power play my senior year with me, the Hoopers, Scott Sandlin, and Mickey Krumpetich, I think we were going at a 60 to 70% rate during the year. I mean, it was unstoppable, and a lot of it had to do with Gary, because he was the guy in front of the net, he was the guy behind the net. He was digging out the loose pucks, and then we just get the puck to Greg or Crump or Scotty at the point, and it was really good. And so they were great line mates all throughout. I wish we could have played together in college. Obviously, things change when you have to select a school and such and whatever. But yeah, we had a great time together. And I tell you, as you guys probably know, back when I played in the early '80s, every rink on the range was packed every night, and every team was good. I think my senior year, and I could be corrected on this, but I think there were 16 guys on the Iron Range who went Division I that year. I mean, we had 5 alone on our team. Yeah. And Hoyt Lake said, Matt Christensen, I could name them all, because it's all right here. But I mean, it was such a good league and so hard to win. And, you know, it took us, you know, I played 4 years of high school hockey, and it took till our senior year until we finally broke through and beat Grand Rapids.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit with Willie. And I didn't even realize just the domination.
Yeah.
Willie can kind of talk about that, the domination that Rapids
No,
had mid
I mean,
70s.
every year they were loaded, and
Oh,
you
it
know,
started in 72, you know, it's
yeah,
every.
and oh my gosh, yeah, and I mean, look at the names that went through there, and the guys that went on, you know, from the Madsons, the Lempys, the Kellens, the Malwitz. I mean, I'm going to miss a whole bunch of them, but
Yeah.
you got Clafton in net, Bill Baker. I mean, good God, and it was just it was they were so good every year, and we finally my senior year, and I remember I remember this, and I tell this story all the time. It was the day of the section final game in Hibbing, and we're playing who else? Grand Rapids again. And I went to the principal's office at like 9 in the morning, and I went to the principal, who I knew pretty well, obviously, and I said, "Listen, um, is it okay if you let everybody, all our whole team out of class and send them here to this room?" He said, "Why do you want to do that?" I said, "Because I wanted to make sure everyone knew what we were playing for, and how big this game was, to not only the town, but to us. To us. We haven't done it. We were the number one ranked team in the year, but all that can be, you can lose your focus in a second, all of a sudden be down and lose and say, oh, what could have been."
Right.
Yeah.
So he let us do that. And I remember I was a captain that year along with Scott and the hoops, and I mean we had a good senior class, so it was all of us involved, not just me, but I did the talking. And because I'd been around championship teams, meaning with my brothers at the U, and seeing and seeing how they went about their business. And I really think that was a big part of why we won that night. I mean, I think we ended up winning 5-3, something like that. I can't remember. But when everybody got to the rink, it was all business. It was not, this was really, really, really important, to the 4,000 people that were going to be at the game that night, and to us, and the year that we had. And we ended up winning and getting the state. So, but that day, just I'll never forget that day.
Oh, sure.
Well, there's something different about how championship teams go about their business. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yep.
I mean,
Yep. And
what they do when they get up in the morning, what they do when they practice, what they do when they go about it, like you were saying, it was a different feel going into that game because guys went about it in a business
yeah.
manner. And
Well, I
know
tell you
that.
what, I tell you what really, now watching as many games as I do, and with the Gophers, with the Wild, whoever, I can tell if a team is ready or not. You
Mhm.
can tell by their demeanor, how they come off the ice, how they, after a shift, how they are on the bench. You can really pick up tells, talking to players before games. You get a feeling when you win a championship game. It's not one guy or two guys who's going to win it for you. It's everybody,
Mhm.
and it's everybody dialed in, and everybody understanding why they're there to play. And I remember when I won a championship in Italy, my first year over there, and I think we finished second, third in the league or whatever. But when we got to the playoffs, everybody knew, and you could just feel it. Everybody knew that didn't matter who we were playing. If we were on the road, if we were at home, we were going to win. And when everybody has that feeling, I tell you, it really, everyone's dialed in, everyone is focused and ready to play and ready to win, and good things happen.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been in somewhat of some of the situations that you get to be in on a regular basis, calling
Yep.
games and analyzing games. I've done a lot of that for my nine around the area. And one of
Yep.
the things I think is really cool about analyzing games is when you're directly across from the bench as
Mm-hmm.
an analyst and you're
Yep.
watching some of the reactions of the players and the coaches. Uh, this is a design flaw, but I've called a lot of games at Virginia in their new building, and
Yep.
it's it's a it's bad that you don't get to see the bench because the bench is on the same side as the crow's nest.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
horrible. You're looking at the penalty box, right?
Right.
Where it's
Right.
between plays. But I like being across at Amsoil when I was calling games for UMD or I was calling some other games for
Yep.
the women's teams. When you just watch what some of the things that you're talking about are just amazing. About talk about some of those things that you see when you are calling a game and analyzing, and you see body language or things like that of players. That's really
Well,
interesting to me because I noticed that.
yeah, and and a lot of it is, I really try to get a feel before the game,
Yep.
before it happens, and and whether it be I'm talking to one guy or another guy, or at the morning skate or whatever, and and sometimes you can just sense, you know what, not ready, not focused, not prepared, and it could be after a loss. It could be after a win. It could be, they get a little too sure of themselves. And then you go out there and then you say, could have had that back check. Could have
Mhm.
made that play.
Yes.
Could have, could have, could have. What's the smart play? Am I playing right into another team's hands? Time after time after time. The inability to make adjustments in your own game really stands out to me. I see a guy trying to do the same thing over and over again, and then on another night, him figuring it out. Okay, you know what? This guy's defending me this way. I'm going to come out a little bit. I'm going to get closer to the net. I'm going to get it off quicker. I'm going to try to get to the middle of the ice more. I can beat this guy wide. I'm not, my head is where it's supposed to be. And so those are the things that I notice right away. And when you're looking at defensemen, you know what? And instead of, I don't know, making that quick, easy pass, I'm going to try to make that home run pass and have it get intercepted, or
Yep.
this, that, or, it's things like that. And sure, listen, guys are going to make mistakes all the time. We're in a mistake-driven game, and there's other teams that the other team wants to win just as bad, and so you're going to make mistakes, but it's how you recover from those mistakes. I think that really tell, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure. One of the things I noticed too is, I come at it from a coaching standpoint too, where,
Yep.
we got a lot of young players that watch our podcast and listen to things we say because
Yep.
sometimes they get some of the coaching advice from my standpoint when I'm talking, and they get the spectator standpoint and the player standpoint from Roger. But one of the things I noticed just watching across, analyzing the game, watching how a kid is being coached and how he responds to being coached.
Mm-hmm.
You got the
Yeah.
coach standing behind you like this, talking in your ear. Is the player open to turning around and listening?
Yeah.
Or is
Right.
it just, whatever,
Right.
helmet down over here? Okay, fine. What, you can tell the body language and how coachable these kids are when you see that kind of stuff. That's
Well,
the stuff that I
you know
know.
what else yeah, and what else I do too, when I'm talking to the players, whether it be a practice or the morning skate, I throw questions at them like, do you guys ever talk on the bench, with your line mates after you have a shift about maybe, oh, not really. I'm like, what really? Well, sometimes I'm like, well, I'll tell you what. And I think of my center at Minnesota, Rick Erdahl. Every shift we came off the bench, we would scrutinize, do this, do that. I remember him telling me one time, he said, Mick, here's the deal. All right. That's a pretty fast team. You're not the fleetest of foot. I do not want you to carry the puck in the neutral zone, period. It gets on your stick, get rid of it, find me, whatever. Do not carry it. It's going to slow us down. You get in the offensive zone, I will find you. Got it. You know,
Yeah,
and that's a year,
thanks.
that's a year I had 48 goals. So, you know,
Right.
You
hey,
listen.
you know, you got to do what you got to do, and
I love it.
but you know, there's not enough communication amongst the guys at what they're doing, you know, what their plan is, how they can beat a guy, how they can beat a line, how they can change your momentum in a game, because you know, Reed, as well as I, you know, one play, whether it be a hit, a back check, a shot, a save, a goal, whatever, can change
Yeah.
the momentum of the game. And
Oh,
and how many times do we see in hockey, you know, a team come out firing, you know, everything they got. You know that they can't keep it up the whole game. It's
right.
impossible. So you got to do something to change that momentum.
Yeah,
And you know, so
for
anyhow.
sure.
Let me sneak in an ad read here quick. Arrow Auto Glass. You can see Coach Larson's shirt here. Arrow Auto Supply is your local source for windshield repairs and replacement with same-day repair services available. Arrow Auto also provides in-home services like installing and repairing your windows, glass doors, and even glass shower doors. Arrow Auto specializes in commercial glass door installation and repair. All of their work is warranted, and they accept all insurance companies for your convenience. Arrow Auto Glass and Supply, downtown Virginia, and now their new downtown location in Hibbing. All right, mate. Well, you touched on the Gophers a little bit. What's your biggest? Was Woog, I guess I had to. Is Woog your coach? And what's your favorite memory of your college days with the Gophs?
Well, it was actually Brad Buto for 3 years, and then Doug came in my senior year. And my career at the U, well, we can go a lot of different directions here, but you know, the one thing I learned, and I did this because I was, you know, I had my two older brothers there, and number one, I was terrified of letting them down, of letting my family down, because you know, there's a certain way you act, and you're wearing that M on your jersey, and there's a lot of kids who want to wear that M, and you're lucky enough to wear it. Now, and remember, back in the day, there was only Minnesota Duluth and Minnesota in the state of Minnesota for Division I hockey. And guys weren't going to the US. The guys only went to the USHL because they didn't get a D1 offer. Okay, so there were like 5, 6, maybe 7 guys who went to Minnesota. The other guys went to Duluth, and yes, there's North Dakota and Wisconsin, but that was the only schools. And so to be able to play at the U, number one, to get an offer to play there, and following my brother's footsteps was, ginormous to me. And so that was number one. And it's not easy for, 17, 18, 19-year-old kid going in, because you're not mature. You think you own the world. And so it really takes some time to understand. But I was lucky enough to learn from my brothers who were there before, and watch how the other guys acted. And, I think that was really, really critical in my development at the university. Tell you what I did. I was, they didn't ask me what number I wanted. They gave me one. So they gave me 26. And so what I did was I looked back in the yearbook and I looked at all the guys who wore number 26 before me and what they did and all that kind of stuff, because I really want to get a good history of the players that played before me, and how and what they did, what they accomplished. Because my thought and my philosophy was, I'm wearing this jersey for them, for not only the guys who wore my number, but for the guys who played before me, and I didn't want to let them down. And so that was really what drove me to get better, but not only as a player, but as a person. And that meant how to act when you're around other people, how to treat other people, how to treat your teammates. And so all of that was really, really important to me. I knew internally, every good player internally knows they're good and know, and, and you don't have to do that outwardly, okay, with your mouth. You do it, and know it internally. And so I wasn't worried about the hockey because, that was just ingrained in me that whoever I was playing against, I don't care who it was. And I got some great Scott Sandlin stories later that I'll tell you about. But it was that other stuff that really propelled my career at Minnesota.
Okay.
Well, that says a lot about it. I mean, you mentioned it right there. It's how it's not what you say. It's not your outward words that come out. It's how you act, and you carry yourself that way.
Yeah.
Well, and when you go to the university and in other schools, I'm just using the university because I went there. But Minnesota's really good every year. And they were back when I was playing. I mean, coming off national championships, and so you go there and you got to earn your keep, right? I mean, we had Butsy Erickson and Scott Bukestead and Steve Griffith and Dave Jensen, and the list goes on and on of the guys that were there, and great teammates, by the way. But you just don't walk in and own the place. You got to put your time in, and so. I was really, really fortunate to have really great teammates at Minnesota.
Okay. All right. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break here. So we'll be right back, everybody. So Pat Micheletti, we'll be right back. All right. Welcome back. Our special guest, Pat Micheletti. Quick word from another supporter of the show, Aspire Heating and Control, your local Bryant dealer. Aspire specializes in gas, electric, and hydronic heating and cooling systems for existing and new construction, residential and commercial installations available. Services include forced air systems, boilers, heat pumps, and mini splits. They are, of course, licensed and bonded. Need an air conditioner tuned up or you need an air conditioning unit, give Justin a call. 218-999-5957. Aspire Heating and Control. 218-999-5957.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit. We got a little bit of a feel on your pro career in Italy and the championship.
Yep.
Give us a little bit on your bit in the NHL and your pro career.
Well, I was drafted out of high school, and I almost wish I wasn't drafted, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I was drafted in the 9th round by the Minnesota North Stars, and you're proud and happy to be drafted and so forth and so on. And so I knew I was going to the university. I wasn't ready to sign or anything like that. And how often does a 9th rounder make it? But so I went to the university, and my first 2 years, I put up decent numbers, but then my junior year came, and all of a sudden it was like a light switch went off. I know I had 60 points my sophomore year, and then my junior year, everything went crazy. I had 48 goals, 48 assists. As a Hobie Baker candidate, as a first team All-American. It was there. And then all of a sudden, that was really the first year of college free agents getting, the big money or signed or whatever you want to call it. Well, I'm drafted by the North Stars, so they own my rights, and it's either I sign with the North Stars or I go back to school, because I couldn't sign a free agent deal. I couldn't talk to any other teams. And that year I was the second or third leading scorer in the conference, or in college hockey. Bill Watson, led the country that year, won the Hobie, and was a great player. No, I mean, he was we battled, and he's a good friend to this day. And so I remember Lou Nanny calling me. He said, "Here's the deal." He said, I can sign you. That's no problem, but you're gonna get the same contract offer from me next year. So I would recommend going back for your senior year. You should. You're gonna have a good team. Blah blah blah. So that's what I did, and we ended up making it to the Final Four, not the Frozen Four, because it wasn't the Frozen Four then, and we lost our first game and ended up winning third place. They had a third place game there. And then later that night, around midnight, he came down with a contract. I signed it, flew home the next day with the team, and we were out in Providence, Rhode Island at the time, and I had to fly right back out to Boston because their minor league team was in Springfield, and played 3 games with them. Season ended, and then my rookie year, I spent in the minors a whole year. We shared a farm team with the New York Islanders, so half Islanders, half North Star guys, and it was a miserable year. In terms of our team, and it just when you're with 2 teams and guys getting called up, it
Talk
was
to
a
other
real
guys about that. I
it was
have
a-
the
it was
guys
a
got to
real-
be what one team wants, and the other
yeah,
the other team.
it was a real eye opener, and then finally, and then the next year, my second year, Minnesota switched from Springfield to Kalamazoo, and so in training camp, I led the North Stars in scoring in training camp. Everybody. I led the team, and I thought I did everything I had to do to make the team. Well, that's not how it works in pro hockey. They have guys under contract, they have one-way contracts, they have, and another eye opener for me. And so I got sent down to Kalamazoo, played an exhibition game down there, tore my knee up, and was out for 3 months. They brought me up, and I trained up there, and got all rehab up there. They sent me back down, and I had 12 goals in 8 games. And that was right away. I think I had 3 hat-tricks in a row, something crazy like that. And so they called me up, and I was up for the rest of the year. And then my contract was up. I had another option year, and during that season, Herb Brooks, he was the head coach. Lou Nanny had resigned as the general manager and president of the team, and so and the team was had a tough year. We didn't make the playoffs, and it was really hard. So new management came in, and I could have signed with them again, but herein lies the problem. The problem was a guy by the name of Dino Cicerelli, who, by the way, was great to me, the whole time. But we both had the same style. He was established. I wasn't. I was. He wasn't going anywhere. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, and so I didn't want to go through, an 80-game season, up and down, when they needed me, and that's what I would have been with the North Stars, barring some bad injury to somebody else. And so I had the opportunity, and Dave Tomasoni, who you guys know from Chisholm, played at Denver, uh, was over in Italy, and he had called me and he said, "You know what? You got to come over here. You can get your passport. You can play as an Italian. You won't have to play as an import. You can play in the Olympics. All that. It's great. Money's good." And I thought, and it really made me think. And I told my dad, and my dad went, he wanted me to do it, immediately. And so he went to work and we went to work and getting all the stuff ready to get my passport, which, took a while because you have to get all this documentation and get approval from the consulate and all that. Long story short, I got my passport. So I was able to play as an Italian. And then the team I played on could get two other imports. So it's like you're getting three guys that played in the National Hockey League on your team. Really helped us. And so I played 4 years over there, three with the same team, and then my fourth year I was sold to another team, and it was crazy, and so I went there, and it was the Olympic year, which happened in Albertville, France, in '92, and I was on the Olympic team, and in our final exhibition game. We were playing Finland, and that's when they had Solani, who was 18 years old on that team. A couple of my former North Star teammates, Remo Helmanen and defenseman, I can't remember his name. And he's the guy who ended up hitting me and put me out. Well, anyway, I think I had 3 points in that game, a couple goals. We beat a really good Finland team, and we had a really good Olympic team that year. We had 16 of our guys that played in the National Hockey League on that team.
Wow.
And so I get hurt in that game, ended my career. That was it. 5 days before the '92 Olympics in Albertville, France. Who, by the way, we would have played, well, and they played the US that night. And it was on national TV back home. CBS had the rights, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't be there. And so that kind of ended my career a little earlier. Else I would have played another 10 years over there because I loved it. And, it was great. And, but, unfortunate, it would have really topped off my career to play in the Olympics and, whatever after that. Right. But yeah, it was, the league I was in over there was really good. As I told you, the money was good. They had really good owners, and we were getting, Mark Pavlich played over there, Butsy Erickson played over there, Yuri Curry was in the league, Mark Johnson, Reed Larson, not you,
Yeah, the guy that was named after.
Bruce Cassidy, the coach of the Vegas Golden Knights, was in the league. Brad Shaw, who coached who was the interim coach with the Flyers this past season when Tortorella got fired. I mean, so it was a really good league, a lot of good players, and we had a lot of fun.
Wow, awesome. What was the team that you played for? For 3 years? Where were you at?
Varese, right, a town right outside of Milan, about 40 minutes, and about 45 minutes from Lake Como, and about an hour from Lugano, Switzerland. And so, I mean, you couldn't have it any better, And so that was really it was a lot of fun, and trust me, I would I've liked to have had a 10-year career in the National Hockey League? Of course. Should I have made it anyway? No. Because, I mean, how many guys in the ninth round get to play in the National Hockey League? And so, in fact, I remember killing. We were playing the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I remember being out there, and he sent me out there. Herbie sent me out there to kill a penalty, and it was Lemieux. It was Joey Mullen. It was Paul Coffey was on their decor. Yager was a rookie then. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing out here? And I'm taking the draw against Lemieux. And I'm like, God, I hope if I can just win this, get it back to RD. They can, get it down the ice, and I can get the hell off the ice, right? I didn't want to get scored on, and so I mean, there's a lot of fun times, and you just think, not many guys from Hibbing, Minnesota, make it into the National Hockey League. I can think of my brother Joe and Mike Polich and a few others, Sandelin. It was there's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's, we talked a little bit earlier. We'll shift gears again. We talked about, seeing each other at the state high school hockey tournament. So, thoughts on Hibbing? I mean, like I said, hopefully, they can make it back. I mean, they got a
Yeah.
bright future.
Well, a couple of things I noticed. First, it was great for them to get back down. Hermantown had been the power in that conference, in that section for years. And I looked at Hibbing's roster, and I looked at the youth, and then watched them play. And I was, first of all, amazed at the talent that they have. And so, I'd been in contact with the head coach, he asked me to, hey, you want to come down and talk to the guys? And I said, yeah, absolutely, I do. And one thing that I stressed with them is that there is something about leaving a legacy. And I thought, when I was speaking to the guys, I said, I don't know if you're going to win it this year, but you're all young and you're going to learn from this, win or lose. And once you get a taste of it, you're going to want more and more. And you guys as a group, not individuals, as a group, have the opportunity to leave a mark, to leave a legacy that no one is ever going to forget. And I will tell you this, it will later on in life, you will say, I was on that team. And that is going to be your proudest moment, because, this is something. And, I talked to all my buddies who we made it. We didn't win it the year I went my senior year, but we all keep in contact and we all talk about the season we had, and just how we all stuck together. And, if there's, I hope that their parents understand it. I hope that the kids understand it, and the importance and the relevance of leaving your legacy like this. I mean, because this group of kids has the ability to do something special, and the town certainly needs it, and they can be heroes, and so I really hope that that they do that. That to me is, out of everything I've done individually, means nothing compared to that, to the team, to the camaraderie, the friendships that you build. I mean, ultimately, guys, there's more important things than hockey. But this is something that you can look back on, and no one can ever take it away. And you did it together as a team. I just think that in itself is what's special. And they have the chance to do it.
That's that Minnesota model. And I mean, we've been speaking the last couple minutes here about Hibbing specifically, but man, that message to anybody in the
Well, look at what Grand Rapids has done for years.
Yeah,
Years.
When is the next time in your life that you're going to be able to say, I played with this group of guys all the way through Pee-wees, Bantams, and high school, and we did this together.
Yeah.
This is the only time in your life when you're playing the game where it's innocent. Because now at the next level, you're going to juniors. This isn't group of kids that you play.
It's doggy dog. It's individual. Yeah. It's, you know what? And you have something. I mean, I remember going into Hoyt Lakes, and that arena, them, the fans, the students greeting us outside, because they felt like they had a great team that year, and they did. They had. I don't know how many guys went D1 from, Matt Christensen, unbelievable player at Hoyt Lakes, and, Velasano, and, I can go on and on, right? Chisholm had a really good program back then. Virginia, we had to play them. See, I'm getting all fired up here, but we're the number one team in the state, right? And we could have been looking ahead to the championship game, but we had to get through Virginia. We had to play them at the Hippodrome in Eveleth, right? And Virginia may have been middle of the pack, whatever that year, still had some really good players. They took us to overtime in the section semis, right? Our season could have ended that night. We escaped. And got to the championship game where we faced who else? Grand Rapids. But those are the games that, oh my gosh, that could have just ended right there. And
What
so
a
that
memory.
you want to those memory. Oh my God, yeah, it was crazy. But there again, a third line winger scores the game winning goal for us. He probably had 8, 10 goals during the year, whatever it was, but he gets the winning goal. He's our hero, right? Gets us to that final, and the rest is history. But it's you don't forget. You just don't forget times like that.
No, that's 100% true.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to ask me on the broadcasting?
Yeah, so when you get into you gotten through a pro career, you got
Yeah.
through college, and now you kind of got your niche in a lot of some of the broadcasting areas, which again, I come from a coaching world and I like it,
Yeah.
but a few years back I got kind of pulled into that world a little bit and I really enjoyed doing that broadcasting. Talk a little bit about your career at the mic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as you very well know, when you first start out, you're not very good, because you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yep.
But over the years, well, when I first quit playing, I wanted to stay in the game. You know, it's not all I knew, but that's what my passion was. But I didn't think I had the pedigree to be a coach. I certainly did not want to be on the road scouting. I'd been on the road playing enough, and so I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that. So I couldn't coach, couldn't scout, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a crack. And I kind of eased my way into it, and one of the first games. This is really funny. One of the first games I did. The Montreal Canadiens were in town playing the North Stars. And a friend of mine, Montreal, they only brought one radio guy with them. And this guy's legendary, Dick Irvin. Okay. And so my friend calls me up. He says, listen, Montreal's in town. Dick Irvin needs a color guy. Can you do it? And I said, well, he says, I can't, I'm busy. I'm like, sure. No idea. Right. So
The first time you got on the headset and the mic. There you go.
I'm with a legend, right? I'm with a legendary coach, broadcaster, I mean, and you want to talk about one of the nicest guys ever in the world. He's brought me through it. He'd bring me down, and here's Scotty Bowman, and here, let's go do this and talk to this guy, and it was great. And that really got my energy going into it. And it takes, like I said, it takes a while to get good. Even to this day, some people don't think you're good and don't like watching you. And
Mhm.
you live with that, right?
Yep.
You have some that like you, some that don't, whatever. But I watched tape, and I watched other broadcasters, and I really kind of dug into it. But ultimately, you are you, so you have to be who you are
Sure.
as a broadcaster. And so I've been lucky enough to, one great story I have, guys, is I was doing St. Cloud games, doing some Gophers, and I kind of all over the place, and Big Ten Network, and the Wild were in the playoffs, and NBC had the rights at that time, and it was Game 3 of Minnesota and Winnipeg. And so I was going to go to the game because I was working radio that night, pre and post for KFAN. And that morning I get a call. I'm like, I'm looking at the number and I'm like, that's, don't recognize it. Well, it was NBC. And they called and they said, "Hey, my name is such and such. Your brother's stuck in Tampa, and we don't know if he's going to make it." And we had there's a monster snowstorm in April in the cities. He said, "Would you be able to work tonight?" And I said, "What do you think?" Of course I will. And he said, "Okay, this is a fluid situation. I don't know if your brother's going to get here or not. Just be ready." And so I'm waiting. And then Joe calls me from a plane. And he's on his way from Tampa, but he's got a layover in Chicago. He says, "I don't think I'm going to make it." And then Joe went through, here's what you need. Here's how we operate. Here's how we do things, blah, 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 blah. Real helpful. And I still don't get a call back from NBC yet because they don't know if he's going to make it. And the guy calls back and he says, "You know what? Screw it. If Joe makes it, you both are going to do it."
Wouldn't that
And so I get there and Gord Miller is a play-by-play guy. And, so Gord and I are talking and we do the open and all this and that. And all of a sudden I'm looking at the Minnesota bench and there comes my brother from underneath. And the guy, producer gets my ear. He says, "Yeah, Joe's here. Don't worry. We're going to put him in between the benches. You stay up in the booth and we'll go from there." And, for he and I to work a National Hockey League game together was, listen, I could have dropped the mic right there and been done, obviously I didn't because I'm still doing it. But it was great. It was great for our family and friends and we had a ball doing it together.
Oh, what a great experience. Awesome. Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the NHL, so we'll kind of close with this. Who's winning the cup?
Edmonton Oilers. You heard it here first. Listen, at the beginning of the playoffs, I picked Florida. There's reasons why a team can win and why a team can't win. When I look at Florida, they are built to win it again. My only concern with them is that they've played a lot of hockey in the last 2 years. They won 7 games last year. They didn't until July. Injuries and fatigue and just the mentality of getting them, into that mode of winning again. But watching them in the playoffs, they are tough. They are really good, really strong up the middle. One of the best goalies in the world in Bobrovsky. So I picked them. That being said, I had Edmonton losing in the first round to LA. And
I think everyone after 2 games thought you were
right,
including
right,
me.
and because I didn't think, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Having that mentality of, we're ready. There's no distractions, injuries, this, that. I didn't think that they were there. But after they got through the LA series, and I've watched them against Vegas, they look dialed in. They're playing fast. They have depth. Biggest concern, and I know you guys probably feel the same way, can their goaltending hold up? Yeah. That is going to be, is it going to be Picard? He's out now. Skinner gets a shutout the other night, but that they got to prove that to me. But I'm going to pick them because they've been there. They know what it's like. They got a taste of it. And as I mentioned, once you get a taste of something, you want to get right back there. And so, and you have McDavid and Draisaitl at a new level. Vander Kane back in that lineup really gives everybody on that bench a little like, you know what, bring it on. bring it on. And so Dallas is awfully good with Ottinger, but I still think we'll see Edmonton, Florida in the final.
I like it. I like the sound of that. When you start looking at some of these teams like
I ramble a lot. Sorry.
well, no, it's awesome because, like I said, you start seeing some of these teams like Edmonton, and you thought that their year was 2 years ago. You
Yep.
thought it might have been last year, and it's like you get so close, and in that kick to the gut, so to speak, that
Yeah.
they had, like, you gotta assume that that the fire is burning a lot hotter this year, and
Yeah, and the thing is, guys, you've got to go through it.
yeah, you do.
You've got to lose.
Yeah, you do.
You got to get that feeling and what it takes, because it is such a different animal in the playoffs. You can talk about it till you're blue in the face, but until you're a part of playing in championship type games and series, and it's so different, and you learn from it. You learn from every series that you win, you learn from every series that you lose, and once you get to that pinnacle is boy, it's something else.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes you learn a heck of a lot more from when you lose than when you win.
Yeah, no
We tell our kids this all season long, that you got to love to win, but I'll tell you what, the ones that win championships are the ones that hate to lose a lot more than they
Yep.
like to win.
Yep.
Well, and Skinner brought him. I mean, they were, what, a game away last year, right? So I mean, and
Yeah.
that's been the argument. But on the other end, Skinner's kind of been there. So
Yep.
I guess if there's a horse to ride, I'd rather have Skinner than some guy that hasn't been there before.
Yeah, and you got the best player in the world in Connor McDavid, and you think he was happy they lost Game 7? I don't think so.
No.
And Leon Draisaitl. I mean, so yeah, it's going to be a fun watch. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's all I've got.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate your time, Mick. And
Hey, no problem. And let me leave you with this. Any of the kids watching out there, never forget, be a good teammate. Be a good teammate, and you will, your team will be a lot better for it.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And yeah, thank you so much. And maybe we'll
Yeah.
have him back on at some point. And like I said, catch him on Beyond the Pond on KFan. And you're doing a great job. I enjoy listening. And do you go all year on that?
No, we'll have intermittent shows during the playoffs, and I go on every Monday with another host. So yeah, I'll be around. I'll be around.
Okay. Well, we'll catch you in the fall then. Look forward to
You
it.
got it.
All right. Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Go ahead and drop
Appreciate
off
it.
whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Take
All
care.
right, thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, there it is, folks. Pat Micheletti. We appreciate that. So you kids, just so you don't know the history, he's the second all-time leading scorer for the Gophers, behind, of course, the great John Mayasich from Eveleth. Real quick here, a word from the Ring Sports Bar and Grill. Speaking of Eveleth, just down from the Hockey Hall of Fame. Specials every night, of course, breakfast, lunch, dinner, daily specials, daily happy hour, 248-8582. So if you're in the Quad Cities, this is the place to be. The Ring Sports Bar and Grill, 248-8582. Give Michelle a call and tell her that the Tea with Miss McGill show sent you. All right, what'd you think? That was pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it was awesome. There's so much information that you just got from Mick there, and so many things that you can pull off as just listening as a coach, but listening as a spectator and a dad of a player from before. And but if you're sitting here as a player right now and you're listening to some of the things that he said, like Hibbing players, you got an opportunity in front of you over the course of the next couple of years here that you can't get anywhere else. And I kind of butted in and said that, yeah, Hibbing, you got yourself an opportunity, but there's so many other teams in the area too that, like, look at our Grand Rapids kids. You're never gonna have this time like this ever again. And everybody's so in such a hurry to grow up, to move on, to look at what the future looks like in their game. And stop and take a breath for a second and look at who you're playing with. You're playing with your buddy that you played peewees with, that has been out on the lake skating with you at your house for the last 10 years. You're over at his house this weekend. He's coming over to your house. You went to prom as a group with him and his girlfriend and all of this other stuff. And there's so much about the Minnesota model that other states around the country, whether they agree with me out loud or not, they do in their mind, that you don't get anywhere else. This model of playing for your hometown from the time you were 3 to 4, 5 years old until the time you graduate doesn't exist anywhere else. And taking away a chance to play one more year at this, all you're doing is moving into a time where the game is not as innocent as it is now. There's nothing. You can ask Neil Broughton, you can ask different players that played Minnesota, Jamie Langenbrunner, players that played high school hockey, some that left, some that didn't. Jamie Langenbrunner left high school and would tell you now, I wish I would have stayed. We'd have won a state championship the next year.
Best time
it's like you don't get this anywhere else. And guys that have won national championships like Neil Broughton, that have won Stanley Cups like Neil Broughton, say that playing in St. Paul my senior year for Roseau High School was better than all of them, without a doubt.
Right. Well, you hear that all the time. Yeah. The ones that have gone.
And I don't care what you're playing for, other than the town and state championship. Some people are playing for the chance to get their college paid for, or a chance to get looked at so they can get looked at higher in the draft, or whatever it might be. There's nothing more important right now than playing for who you've been playing for the last 10, 12 years.
Right.
And that's the town that you're from and the families that you played for and against.
Yeah. And if you ever run across Pat, anyway, he loves to talk hockey. So, and help hockey players, especially from the range. So if you ever think it's him, if you're somewhere, go introduce yourself. And you saw what a talker is. He'll talk, he'll talk hockey with you, till the cows come home. So, anyway, thanks Pat for that. So anything else to add? Episode 110.
No.
All right, we have a very happy birthday wish to somebody tomorrow. Would you happen to know who that might be?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'll take that. I'll take 40. Actually, this is the birthday year that matches my old football number. I'll show you.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Coach Larson. That's great. So, hope you have a good one. All right, find us everywhere. X, we are under T McGill, T with Miss McGill on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're looking for us on Facebook or YouTube, it's Goat Sports Media LLC. Also on Rumble, Goat Sports, one word. Merch, Father Day's coming. Of course, $20 a tee. You can get a hold of us so we can find a way to get that to you. And a big thank you to the greatest partners on earth: Aspire Heating and Control, the Ring Sports Bar and Grill, Aero Auto Glass and Door, Fortune Bay Resort Casino, Zorbas of Grand Rapids, Iron Range Goalie Academy, Grand Rapids Chevrolet GMC, Minnesota Hockey Camps, the Jackson Hole Moose Hockey Club, Iron Range Plumbing and Heating, and First National Bank of Chisholm and Cook. For Reed Larson, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the Tea with Miss McGill show.
First National Bank of Chisholm, where tradition meets the future. Locally owned and operated from our historic Lake Street location in the heart of Chisholm since 1905. From savings to your first big purchase, we're your partner every step of the way. First National Bank of Chisholm, the power to do more.
All right, fellas, you just can't get the hockey itch out of yourself. The college route isn't for you. Community college route isn't for you. The junior hockey route isn't for you. Well, there's still hockey that you can play. Why don't you check out the Jackson Hole Moose out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming? Take a look at these guys. Full crowds, full hockey, packed houses every night. Get a hold of TJ Thomas on Facebook, and he can get you hooked up with what's going on out there in Jackson Hole.
Hear about Zorba's specials? On Mondays, it's Micro Monday. All taps are just $4. Tuesdays, $3 tacos and $4 Dos Equis. Wednesdays, personal pizzas, $8 and domestic taps, $4. Thursdays, we have deals on nachos and $5 surly taps. We offer trivia on Wednesdays at 6 p.m., bingo on Thursday at 6 p.m., and then karaoke Thursdays at 10 p.m.
Did you know that fascia strength training is great if you have a banged up body and you'd like to heal and get stronger at the same time? Unlike muscle-focused exercise that leaves your body stiff and achy, fascia strength exercise releases muscle tension and fills your body with a spring-loaded power and cat-like agility. Fascia strength is great for athletes and martial artists. If you'd like to pursue this training, take a look at my program, Fascia Strength and Power. I'll leave a link in the description box below.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you liked the show, please leave a review and subscribe. We would appreciate that. It is Puka, another show from Goat Sports Media that we'd like to tell you about. If you're into dirt track racing, it's that time of year. The One to Go Show covers dirt track racing in the upper Midwest each and every week. Facebook, YouTube, podcast. So find it at all your favorite places. Join Ryan Aho, hockey coach Jeff Krause, and Bert Lehman is break down all the action weekly. Check them out right now.